Please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback helps make the content better. I heard it the first time in our own kitchen. Emily was on the phone with her sister, leaning on the counter, scrolling through something. I walked in with a bag of groceries, dropped it on the table, and caught the tail end. Yeah, well, marriage is kind of like prison, she laughed. Except the food's worse. She looked right at me when she said it. Not surprised, not embarrassed. Just flat. I stood there with a carton of eggs in my hand. Wow, I told her. Glad I got the premium cell. She rolled her eyes and kept talking into the phone. Okay, I'll call you later, she said and hung up. Then she opened the fridge like nothing happened. You want to run that one by me again? I asked. She didn't even turn around. What? The part where I'm your prison term. It was a joke, Mark. She shut the fridge. Don't start. Funny, because it didn't sound like a joke. That's because you take everything personal. She grabbed a glass, filled it with water. Can I get 5 minutes in my own house without an interrogation? Emily, you literally called our marriage a prison. She took a sip and shrugged. Everyone says stuff like that. Relax. No, I said. Not everyone. And definitely not everyone in front of their husband. She finally looked at me, but there was nothing in her face. No guilt, no warmth. Just mild annoyance, like I'd blocked the TV. You're overreacting, she said. Drop it. If I had talked about you that way to anybody, you'd lose it. Well, you didn't, she replied. So why are we even talking about hypotheticals? I'm tired, Mark. I watched her walk past me into the living room. I stood there for a moment, staring at the groceries. If I'd known where it was headed from that night, I would have slept somewhere else. But back then, I still thought I could fix it. I told myself she was stressed, burned out from work. I'd been the solid one for years. I paid the mortgage, handled the bills, took the boring, heavy stuff. Holding the line was kind of my thing. So I did what I always did. I unpacked the groceries, cooked dinner, and convinced myself it was a one-off. It wasn't. The next real hit came a couple weeks later at our place, when she had friends over. 3 of her co-workers, all loud, all opinionated, sitting around our dining table with half-finished plates and wine glasses. I'd grilled outside, cleaned up, did the host routine. I was heading to the kitchen with a stack of plates when the conversation shifted. So what's the worst life decision you guys made in your 20s? One of them asked. Student loans, another woman said. Easily. Taking that sales job, the guy added. Lost 2 years of my life there. Emily smirked, swirling her drink. Moving in with my husband, she said. Locking it in. Should have read the fine print. The table burst out laughing. I stopped in the doorway with the plates. Come on, the guy grinned. He's not that bad. Oh, you have no idea, she waved him off. Marriage is great. If you enjoy babysitting an adult. One of the women glanced at me, then quickly looked away. I set the plates down on the counter a bit harder than I meant to. Silverware clinked. Nobody missed it. Careful, honey, Emily called out. Don't hurt yourself. Then I'll need to file a workers' comp claim. They laughed again. I walked back in, pulled out a chair, and sat down. Wow, I said. Do I get a turn, or are we just working through your tight 5 tonight? Relax, Mark, it's a joke, she replied. They know I appreciate you. Funny, I said, because what they're hearing is you regretting your whole marriage. It's called humor, she said. You should try it. No, humor is when both sides might actually laugh, I shot back. This is just you taking free swings. Her co-worker tried to smooth it over. She roasts all of us, man. Equal opportunity. Yeah, but you don't go home with her, I said. The table went quiet. Emily's face tightened. Can you not make this weird? She replied. We're having a nice night. Are we? I asked. Because from my seat, I'm the clown you booked for the show. She stared at me for a second, then forced a smile at her friends. He's sensitive, she said. Ignore him. That one landed. Right in my chest. I pushed my chair back. You guys enjoy the rest of the night, I told them. I'm done. I went to the kitchen, washed up what I needed, grabbed my keys and wallet. On my way out, I stopped by the table again. From now on, I said calmly, if I cook and host, I'm not volunteering as material. If I'm the joke, I won't be in the room. Simple. Mark, sit down, she snapped. You're making it awkward. That's the point, I replied. You want to talk about me like I'm not in the room? I'll fix that. I won't be. I walked out and left them with their awkward silence. First initiative. I stopped going to those little comedy nights. The next Friday, when she asked what we should serve for a few people coming over, I didn't dance around it. I'm not hosting, I told her. I'll be out. What do you mean, out? She asked. I mean I won't be here while you warm up your act. I answered. You want to entertain, order in, or cook, but I'm not your stage prop. So you're just quitting? She asked. No, I said. I'm adjusting my job description. Husband is not the same thing as punchline. She looked at me like I'd messed up her backdrop. You're being dramatic, she muttered. Maybe, I said. Let's see how it feels when the help stops showing up. I spent that Friday evening at a sports bar with my friend Dan from work, watched a game, and came home after everyone had left. House was a mess. Takeout boxes, glasses, plates. I didn't touch any of it. By Sunday, she'd cleaned it herself, grumbling just loud enough for me to hear, but she didn't ask me to host again for a while. Small price. The next front opened at work, of all places. I'm an operations manager for a mid-sized distribution company. Nothing glamorous, but solid. I was at my desk on a Tuesday when Dan leaned on the cubicle wall, phone in hand. Dude, he said, you seen this? He turned his screen toward me. Emily's social feed. A picture of her at some happy hour, holding a drink, captioned, marriage is just having a permanent roommate who forgets everything and leaves socks everywhere. Comments underneath. Laughing faces, so true. Preach, the usual. Cute, I said. Thought you guys were good, Dan said. We were, I answered. Apparently I missed the memo. You okay? He asked. I'm fine, I said. Just realizing I'm famous online and didn't get paid. At lunch, I sat in my car, stared at that post again, scrolled further down. More jokes. Little digs about my husband and his midlife crisis hair, my husband and his dad jokes, my husband, professional bill payer. Same pattern. Just jokes. All for the image. The clever, sharp, real wife. That afternoon, I opened a new account at my bank on my phone. My paycheck started going there. I left the joint account with enough to cover the basics. Mortgage, utilities, groceries. The extras? Done. When I got home, I didn't wait. I changed the direct deposit. I told her at the dining table. From now on, joint account covers the basics. If you want something beyond that, we talk. No more surprises. She blinked. What are you talking about? You like to perform? I replied. I like to pay for stability. Those are different hobbies. So you're cutting me off? She asked, voice rising. No, I said. I'm setting a boundary. Food, house, lights, covered. Luxury version of prison, remember? But I'm not sponsoring the stand-up tour that I'm the target of. You're punishing me because you can't take a joke? She shot back. I'm adjusting how much I invest in someone who thinks I'm a joke, I answered. If that feels like punishment, interesting. That's controlling, she snapped. Actually, it's the opposite, I said. You're free to do whatever you want. I'm just done funding everything without respect in the package. She stared at me, jaw tight, then grabbed her phone and went to the bedroom. Door closed. I expected a storm. Instead, that night, I got attempt number 1 at being sweet. She came into the kitchen while I was cleaning up, set a plate in front of me with my favorite pasta. I made dinner, she said. Real food. No prison rations. I looked at the plate, then at her. You didn't have to, I said. Yeah, I did, she replied. Maybe I pushed it with the jokes. I get carried away. I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't think it bothered you that much. It sounded almost genuine. Almost. Here's the thing, I told her. It doesn't bother me. It tells me where I stand for you. You stand in the kitchen eating pasta I made. She tried to joke, placing a fork in my hand. I let it slide. I ate. We talked about neutral stuff. Work, traffic, her upcoming project. She touched my shoulder when she passed behind me. No fights. No comments online that night. For a moment, it felt like the house I used to know. I went to bed thinking maybe the financial line woke her up. Then I woke up at 3 in the morning, heard her voice through the bedroom door, soft and low from the hallway. I stepped out quietly. No, it's fine, she was saying on the phone in the guest room. He had a little meltdown about money. I just threw together some food and he calmed down. He always does. I just need to keep him from freaking out about divorce jokes or whatever. I didn't move. I just listened. Yeah, I know, she laughed quietly. I just can't stand men who think marriage is this sacred thing. It's a contract. He's solid. He takes care of things. I'm not stupid. I just wish he could take a joke without changing the bank. I went back to bed, lay down, stared at the ceiling. Illusion of change, noted. I stopped fighting in my head about whether I was overreacting. I started planning. The next move wasn't loud. It was logistics. Over the next few weeks, I stayed late at work more. Hit the gym again. Spent time at my friend Mark's house on Saturdays, helping him redo his deck. I cut down on time at home that was just background for her show. At home, I talked less and watched more. She got colder. Fewer texts during the day. More nights, out with friends. Coming home late with that wired, high-energy tone of someone who just got done playing an audience. One Sunday, we were supposed to go to her parents' house for dinner. I was in the garage, sorting through old boxes. She came out, car keys in hand. "You ready?" she asked. "I'm not going," I told her. She frowned. "What are you talking about?" "They cooked for us. They can still eat," I said. "I'm tired of sitting at that table while you complain about me like I'm not there. I'm giving them and myself the night off." "That's in your head," she snapped. "I've got enough quotes to fill a notebook," I replied. "Tell them I'm sick. Or tell them the truth. Dealer's choice." "You can't just skip," she insisted. "I just did," I said. "You want to see your parents? Go see your parents. But I'm done volunteering for conversations where I'm the story and not the person." She stared at me for a second, then shook her head. "You're unbelievable." "Maybe," I said, "but I'm not entertainment. Go. You're late." She left without another word. That was line number 2 from my side. No more sitting in rooms where I'm the approved target. 2 days later, she came home early from work with takeout from a nice place in town. "Peace offering," she said, setting the bags on the counter. I told my mom we've both been stressed. She says hi. "She didn't complain about you, by the way." "Good," I answered. "One less room." "We got married young," she went on. "We're figuring stuff out." I probably used sarcasm too much. "That's on me." She sounded softer. Less sharp. "What changed?" I asked. "I don't want us weird with my parents," she said. "Or with each other. Can we just reset a little?" "Reset means different behavior," I said. "Not just different food on the table." "I know," she replied quickly. "I'm trying, okay?" I nodded. "I'll meet effort with effort," I told her. "But I'm not going back to same rules." That week, she didn't post anything about me online. No joke, texts. She sat next to me on the couch, leaned into my arm. She even asked about my day and listened. Second illusion starting to take shape. Then came the family barbecue. My parents do this every summer. Big backyard, grill, folding chairs, neighbors dropping by. Emily loves those days. It's her favorite stage. Built-in audience, low risk. This time, I went in with my eyes open. When we got there, my mom hugged us both. My dad clapped me on the shoulder. My younger brother Tom was already at the grill. "Look who finally showed up," Tom grinned. "Thought you two eloped again." "We're not that lucky," Emily shot back with a smirk. I let it pass. Early in the day. No point starting there. Hours passed. Burgers, kids running around, music low from a speaker on the porch. People moved in and out of groups. I kept an eye on Emily. She was in her element. Storytelling, laughing, leading the flow. Toward the end of the afternoon, someone, my aunt, I think, brought up the classic topic. "If you could go back and change one big decision from your 20s, she asked, "what would it be?" It went around the circle by the picnic table. Job choices, where people moved, cars they bought. When it got to Emily, she didn't hesitate. She held up her plastic cup like she was toasting. "I regret marrying you every single day," she said. Silence. She smiled like it was the punchline of some huge joke. A couple of weak laughs came out, then died right away. My mom's face went pale. My dad stared at Emily like he was seeing her for the first time. Tom looked at me. Nobody rescued her. No one jumped in with a joke. "You're kidding," my aunt tried, voice shaky. Emily shrugged. "I mean, we were kids," she said. "We didn't know what we were doing. But hey, here we are, right?" She nudged my shoulder. "Still paying for it." My chest felt very calm. No heat. No rush. "Good thing I'm fixing that today," I replied. My voice was casual. Exactly the way I would talk about changing the oil in my truck. She blinked. "What?" I pushed my chair back and stood up. "You regret it every day?" I said. "I'm done dragging you through a life you hate." My mom whispered, "Mark," but I held up a hand. "No, it's okay, Mom," I told her. "We're just being honest today. Right, Em?" She stared at me, mouth half open. "What are you talking about?" she asked. "I'll explain later," I said. "For now, I'm heading out. I've got somewhere to be tonight. Tom moved closer. You good? He muttered. I'm about to be, I answered. I hugged my mom briefly. We'll talk, I told her. Not today. My dad gave me a long look, then nodded once. I walked to my car. Behind me, I heard voices start up again, frantic this time. Emily calling my name. My aunt saying something about maybe this going too far. I got in, started the engine, and drove. On the way, I called Mark. You home? I asked. Yeah, he said. What's up? I need your guest room for a bit, I told him. I'm done pretending in mine. Doors open, he said, no questions. I stopped by the house just long enough to grab a bag. Work clothes, toiletries, laptop. I didn't write a note. I didn't slam anything. I just looked at the living room, empty and quiet, and made a decision. At Mark's place that night, we sat on his back porch with a couple of beers. Nothing special. Streetlights, a dog barking somewhere down the block. So that was the line? He asked after I told him what happened. That was the public version of what she's been saying in private for a long time, I answered. Difference is, today she gave me witnesses. What are you going to do? He asked. I already started, I replied. Tomorrow I talk to a lawyer. I've been holding this thing together for years while she treats it like a joke. I'm done being the only adult in the room. He looked at me for a long second. You sure? He asked. Yeah, I said. For the first time in a long time, I'm not just mad. I'm finished. Next day, I was in a law office at 9 in the morning. We went through the numbers. House, accounts, savings. No kids. Clean split. Nothing crazy. I wasn't out for blood. I just wanted out, on fair terms, with my spine intact. By the end of the day, the paperwork was ready. I signed. The attorney filed it first thing the next morning. 2 days after the barbecue, I was sitting at Mark's kitchen table, answering work emails on my laptop, when there was a knock at the door. Mark looked through the peephole and raised an eyebrow. It's Emily, he said quietly. Let her in, I told him. He opened the door and stepped back. Emily walked in, eyes red, hair pulled back in a sloppy bun. She held a small cardboard box in her hands. Can we talk? She asked, looking at me, not at Mark. I closed my laptop. Sure, I said. Here or outside? Outside, she said quickly. We stepped onto the small front porch. She set the box on the little table by the chairs. What's in the box? I asked. Stuff you gave me, she answered. Cards, little gifts, photos. I thought, if you're serious about blowing everything up, you should probably take these. So that's a prop, I said. She frowned. What? The box, I replied. You didn't bring it because you suddenly care about cards. You brought it so I'd see a box of memories and soften up. She crossed her arms. You're really proud of yourself right now, aren't you? No, I said. But I'm awake. You humiliated me in front of your entire family, she snapped. At that barbecue. Do you have any idea how that felt? You spent years warming up for that line, I answered. If you didn't want a response, you shouldn't have delivered the closing argument. It was a joke, she insisted. They all knew that. Funny, I said, because they didn't laugh. She looked away for a second, then back at me. Okay, she said, voice softer. I messed up. I went too far. I was angry. I felt trapped. Whatever. But we can fix this. We don't need to run to lawyers and make it worse. I repeated. You regret us every single day. I just took you seriously. That's not what I meant, she said quickly. You know that. People say dramatic things when they're upset. You weren't upset, I replied. You were enjoying yourself. Can you stop dissecting every word? She said. I came here to talk like adults, not to be cross-examined. I am talking like an adult, I said. I'm telling you the outcome of your behavior. She stared at me for a beat. So what? You're moving in here now, she asked, gesturing toward the house. That's your big plan? No, I told her. I'm here while the dust settles. I'm getting my own place. She narrowed her eyes. You can't just walk away from 10 years like that. I didn't, I said. I stayed for 10 years while you chipped away at it, and I kept paying the bill. Yesterday, I filed for divorce. That's me finally walking away. The word hung in the air between us. Her mouth opened, closed. You're lying, she finally said. No, I replied. I'm not. The papers went in yesterday morning. She pressed her fingers to her forehead. Why would you do that without even talking to me first? She said. That's insane. The barbecue was the talk, I answered. You gave your side, very clearly. I responded. I believed you. Then I acted. You're throwing away everything because of one comment? She demanded. This isn't about one comment, I said. That comment was just the first time you performed the truth in public. I'm not staying married to someone who needs me as a resource but can't stand me as a person. I never said I can't stand you, she insisted. You show it, I said. In front of your friends. Online. With your family. With mine. Every time you use me as the joke to build your image as the sharp, honest wife, you show it. She shook her head, eyes filling. So that's it, she asked. You don't want to even try counseling? Or take a break? Maybe I move in with my parents for a bit and we figure it out. No, I said. I'm not interested in pauses. I'm interested in final decisions. What about the house? She shot back. The money? You think you can just pull out and leave me with nothing? I'm not leaving you with nothing, I replied. The attorney has a fair split laid out. We sell the house, split the equity. Accounts get divided. I'm not your enemy. I'm just not your safety net anymore. So you get to walk away and be free, she said bitterly. And I get to look like the failed wife. You chose your image, I said. I'm just stepping out of the frame. She stepped closer. If you pull this, I swear, I will tell everyone you abandoned me, she said, voice low. They already heard you tell them you regret marrying me, I answered. If you want to build another story on top of that, go ahead. People aren't as blind as you think. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. It didn't move me the way it used to. Can you just give me one chance to fix it? She asked. One real chance. No lawyers yet. No moving out. We set some rules. We agree on what's off limits. We try. Please. I shook my head. The papers are already in, I said. And I'm not pulling them. So that's a no, she said. That's a no, I answered. She stared at me for a long time, breathing hard. You'll regret this, she finally said. I doubt it, I replied. She grabbed the box, then looked at it, then dropped it back on the table. Keep your cards, she said. They're not worth much. Neither are your words, I replied. She turned and walked to her car without saying bye to Mark. Drove off too fast. Mark stepped out a minute later, leaned on the doorframe. That sounded rough, he said. It was simple, I answered. That's what rough looks like when you stop negotiating. He glanced at the box. You want that in the trash? He asked. Yeah, I said. All of it. He picked it up and took it inside. Trash lid closed. That sound was better than any speech. From there, it wasn't quick, but it was straight. She switched tactics. One day she'd call crying about how I'd blown up our life. Next day she'd be cold, talking numbers only, trying to get more than half because I gave you the best years of my life. Another day she'd text photos of old vacations with, we were good once, remember? Every attempt had an angle. More time in the house. More money. More control over who knew what. I kept it boring. We met at a coffee shop with the attorney once to go over the settlement. Neutral ground. Tables packed. People on laptops. She showed up in a dress she knew I liked. Hair done. Makeup perfect. That was her second big soft move. Hi, she said, putting her bag down. You look good. So do you, I answered. Let's get this done. She sat, folded her hands, leaned in like we were on a date. We don't have to do it like this, she said quietly. We could separate, see how it feels, keep the house for now. There's no rush to sell. There is for me, I said. I'm not leaving a door open so you can keep one foot in my life and one in your act. You make me sound like some villain, she replied. I was just trying to cope with a marriage that wasn't working. You cope with jokes, I said. I coped by paying the bills and hoping you'd remember who I was. We're done with coping. We're doing clean lines. The attorney went through each point. House sale. Split. Retirement accounts. No alimony long-term. Just a short support period so she could adjust, because I'm not cruel and she knows it. She argued every item. I deserve more, she said. You're the one forcing this. I didn't ask for it. You literally said you regret this marriage every day, I reminded her. I'm giving you what you claim to want. You're twisting my words, she snapped. No, I said. I'm taking them seriously. By the end of the meeting, a lot of her demands were still on the table, but the big structure stood. We were splitting. The house was going up for sale. There was a date on the calendar when we'd sign the final paperwork. Last chance, she said, standing up, voice low so people at the next table wouldn't hear. You walk away from this, and I'll make sure everyone thinks you threw me out like trash. I looked at her. You've been calling me trash and nicer words for years, I said. If they still want to hear your version after watching you at that barbecue, that's their problem. She flinched at the mention of it. Good. I walked out first this time. Moving out was easier than I expected. Most of my stuff was functional. Tools, clothes, a couple pieces of furniture I cared about. I scheduled a truck for the weekend, got a small house on the edge of town with a simple lease and a garage. Mark and Tom helped me move. No drama. Emily stayed in the house until it sold. She texted updates like a landlord. Realtor coming Tuesday. Offer came in. It's low. They want us to fix the porch. I answered only when necessary. Short, clear messages. No emojis. No conversations for old times' sake. The day we signed the sale papers, she watched the numbers hit her account. I could almost see the calculation in her eyes. Comfort, stability, appearance. This is it, she said. Yeah, I replied. This is it. You really don't feel anything? She asked. We built a life in that house. I feel relief, I said. That's something. She looked down at the check again. You're going to move on and find some younger woman who thinks you're amazing, she said. While I get to start over from scratch. No, I said. I'm going to move on and not be insulted at dinner. What anyone else thinks of me is their call. She shook her head. You're colder than I thought, she said. Or I finally caught up. I answered. I walked out of that office knowing I wasn't coming back as her anything. Not husband, not prop, not fallback. A year later, I'm telling you this from the deck of my own place. Smaller house than the old one, but it's mine. Paid for with a clear head. There's a truck in the driveway that starts every time. I've got a promotion at work I almost turned down out of habit, then took because I'm not dragging anybody anymore. I meet my friends when I want, not when it fits around her calendar. There's a woman I see sometimes. Her name is Lauren. She has her own place, her own job, her own stories. We talk like adults. We don't use each other as material. I don't rush it. I don't live for it. I just enjoy it. From what I hear, Emily rented a condo across town. She kept most of her followers online. The captions changed, though. More posts about healing, less about my husband this, my husband that. My mom mentioned she ran into Emily at the store once. Said she looked tired. Said she complained about how expensive everything is now that there's no one to rely on. I just nodded. I don't hate her. I don't wish her harm. I just don't play my old role anymore. She spent years turning our life into a running joke to protect an image. I spent years holding the walls up so she could do it. At that barbecue, when she gave her best line, I finally understood something simple. You can't stop someone from disrespecting you if they enjoy it. You can only take yourself out of the audience. So I did. And when I drive past that old neighborhood sometimes, I don't think about the fights or the little digs. I think about that one line at the picnic table and what I answered. I'm still glad I said it. Good thing I fixed it that day.